For years, I have undeniably been in conflict with the benefits and the downfalls of this thing called social media. How it can be useful, how it can be harmful, and in weighing the pros and cons, I always end up at the exact same conclusion, each and every single time, that the cons always outweigh the pros with social media. And one of the biggest cons of all is narcissism, which is the extreme desire or intention to constantly and continuously be the center of attention all the time. Every waking moment of every day, narcissists will always have the appetite to hog the spotlight in everything. Perfect example, childhood cancer awareness. For the past 5 years, I have witnessed this unbridled atrocity of people who, instead of fighting for the children, they fight amongst each other. Needless to say, as a survivor and an advocate, I've been caught up in quite a few of those arguments myself, and I have no doubt that this particular recording will also garner a great deal of flack from my opposition, even if what I'm saying is true. Why? Because it's truth. And who wants that? Well, I'm going to lay some truth down on the table for all of you, and whether you like this or not, this truth needs to be spoken. But first off, let's explore and touch base a little on narcissism detection. How do we spot narcissists? It's quite simple, really, especially because narcissists are more outward, with wanting their ego stroked on a constant basis. But one of the stronger behavioral patterns you should always be aware of are the narcissists who will be willing to share the spotlight with you, but only if it benefits the narcissist jointly. The narcissist will never fully make it about you unless they know for certain that this too will benefit their ego and give them star status. Now, you won't notice this right away because in your own mind you think that the narcissist is making it less about themselves and more about you. Sorry to burst your bubble and to swipe streaks through a mindset of a wet illustration that you've painted in your own mind about this person being as ideal, pristine, perfect, and flawless as you've made them out to be. But hindsight is 20/20, and you are engaging in mind trickery. You have become nothing more than a shirt tail to the ego of the narcissist. For a while, you'll think that the so-called good thing going will last forever, until one day you discover that the narcissist has slowly but surely torn themselves away from you in another direction. You make efforts in every attempt possible to rekindle and bring back the fire to the so-called friendship. They don't respond, or if they do, there's always the excuse that they've been too busy to respond. Sure, we all get busy, we have our own lives to lead. But again, hindsight is 20/20. And if they're not too busy for other people, then suddenly how do they get to be too busy for you? As much as you will hate to hear this, I must tell you for your own good. You've been used. Now you can either accept that as a fact, you can discard that fact, or write it off as one shallow person's opinion. And if you choose the latter, let me remind you that a person who makes time to explain things to you isn't so shallow. The truth, which you don't want to hear, is a bitter pill to swallow, and it leaves an unbearable taste in your mouth. Would the narcissist actually stop long enough to take the time to explain their own selfish behavior? I think not. I have many friends, many of which I've met in person, and many who I keep in touch with through text, email, Skype, and Twitter. I check with some of my closest friends almost every day, asking them how they're doing, how's home life, how's the family, and I keep all of my friendships healthy and in constant connection. I've helped many people in my life, and my reasons for helping others isn't for television airtime or newspaper and magazine column inches. I have the capability and mental capacity to help others without the strident need for attention and glory at every turn. In fact, I don't even like to be the center of attention. Helping others with no strings attached is not something that most people know how to do, primarily the narcissist. Real generosity doesn't happen, especially when the narcissist knows that it will hurt them and somehow take away from their goals of trying to pass themselves off as figureheads with the superior patriarch motif that they carry around. I am simply not impressed by any of it. There are specific reasons why I've chosen childhood cancer in this recording. One reason is because many of my friends are or have been directly impacted by it. The second reason is because naturally, childhood cancer is my forte. It's something that I know very well from front to back. Everyone wants to lead a movement that currently remains stagnant. And the reason for the stagnation is because of narcissism. The outside observer, preferably one who was not impacted by childhood cancer, doesn't see the overall bigger picture of what's really and truly happening, because the narcissists are too busy passing themselves off as the saviors and messiahs of the childhood cancer world, with enormously gigantic Superman mentalities. There's always someone somewhere trying to cling onto something with the hopes that they will come out on top as the reigning champion in the eyes of those who grovel at their feet. This is exactly what the outside observer sees. And while I will always be one who will say that there are fewer reasons to smile, we also need to remember how people behave and what lengths they will go to in order to achieve their goals of being Mr. and Mrs. Popularity. Now, I had become an advocate with the intentions of standing among the crowd, not above the crowd. And in this crowd, the only commonality that governs it is, in fact, childhood cancer. There's no one person who is in charge or who leads the rest of the crowd. We should all be the front that makes childhood cancer a national priority. My slogan is to make it about the kids and not about yourself. It's a rather simplistic approach, and most people will accept this in acquiescence and less enthusiasm, but they understand. It doesn't mean that they will change accordingly, but they understand. In closing, I'll now present you with this final thought, a bit of a comparative analysis, if you will. Okay, you are constantly showing attention and support to an individual who shows you zero attention or support in return. You put them on such a high pedestal, and instead of returning a favor, they just appreciate that you fawn over them and they move on. In your desperate attempt to ignore and placate your dissatisfaction, you shrug it off. But you keep giving them what they want. They know how to emotionally move you. They know how to get inside your mind, which is a plus for them. But see, they ignore you when you are no longer of convenience for them. Now, I keep in contact with you at least once a day or once every other day. Not for attention, not for a spot on the proverbial throne, but because you were important enough to me that you came to my mind, and I wanted to reach out to you. This isn't a matter of convenience for me to feel superior over you. I have no desire. I just want to know how my friend is doing today, with no strings attached whatsoever. My follow-up question to that would be, why are you continuously giving in to someone whose head is jammed so far up their own ass that they can't show that same kind of admiration, that same kind of love, that same kind of respect back to you? You continue to behave ostensibly towards someone who can't find time for you every day, or maybe at least once every other day, just to see how you're doing. You pretend as if this is no big deal, and the fact that the narcissist behaves in such a self-serving manner is evidence of that. You don't care that you have allowed yourself to become someone's puppet, to become subservient to their thirst and hunger for constant attention. You have become a steward of their fragile ego, and every night they go to bed knowing that they have nestled themselves into a mental victory lap with you. They are the ace in the deck in your world. And if this were a game of euchre, not even the jack would trump the ace. Change your way of thinking and stop giving in to the narcissists. Just remember who your real friends are and always appreciate what they do for you, even on your worst days. And keep in mind that even when they are having the worst day, they still made time for you.